what risk do you see from the ownership of Bertelsmann?
I'm sorry, what risk?
From the ownership of Bertelsmann.
Oh, okay. So we position the ownership of 75% of Bertelsmann as a corporate governance risk. So obviously, the fact that Bertelsmann appoints 8 out of 11 of the directors on the board is quite a threat to the minority shareholders. So basically, RTL Group reacts to that. So they appoint the 2 out of 3 independent directors as chairman of the committee, specifically the audit committee and the nomination and compensation committee, which basically protects the rights of minority shareholders on the RTL Group's board.
Moreover, RTL Group is a key strategic holding of Bertelsmann Corporation, which is responsible for about 30% of revenue of the whole Bertelsmann Corporation, and due to its lower operating leverage as opposed to other holdings of Bertelsmann, it generates about 60% of operating EBIT of Bertelsmann. That's why we are strongly convinced that Bertelsmann is interested in further development of RTL Group, and it's also because of the fact that RTL Group stays at the edge of digitalization of the whole Bertelsmann Corporation.
In addition, Bertelsmann will continue to invest in RTL Group as it is one of the most important subsidiaries of Bertelsmann, as other subsidiaries are printing companies, one book publisher, and other is outsourcing networking company.
Can you discuss the analysis and go back to the analysis on Netflix in the introduction of the pay subscription model?
Yes, absolutely. So RTL Group has its own video-on-demand platforms which are competing with Netflix currently in Western Europe, because Netflix has launched its services in September of 2014. So we have certain competitive advantages against Netflix because we have been on that market for a while now, and our video-on-demand platforms are used by a lot of people in Western Europe. And another competitive advantage is specific content produced by our subsidiary Fremantle Media. It is web original content for those video-on-demand platforms.
And the penetration rate for your video-on-demand product is at what level?
Penetration rate in the Western European markets in general is about 70%.
Can you discuss about the EBITDA margin for each division and any efficiency and costs?
So turning to the profitability of each profit center separately, I would like to mention that the most profitable one in terms of EBITDA margin is a German subsidiary of RTL Group, namely Mediengruppe RTL Deutschland, with the highest EBITDA margin of 32%, and that is because of the this mature market, and moreover, the RTL Group implements cost efficiency program that is effectively uses the synergies of all its holdings to effectively allocate the firstly inventory and selling general and administrative expenses within the whole group.
It also worth to be mentioned here that among peer companies of RTL, it has higher both EBITDA margin and EBITDA margin. For instance, RTL's EBITDA margin is 23%, while an average among peers at about only 18%.
Since advertising is so important to the company, can you talk about the impact of mobile? Because companies make less money on advertising when people view their ads on mobile, and the trend is towards mobile.
First of all, it's necessary to say that at the moment, digital development in the media industry is going not at the expense of traditional advertising. By the way, company has already built up a highly competitive digital chain, which includes premium online video services, web original short-form content, and new sales and monetizing approaches gained due to spot exchange. That's why in future, when digital will gain the share of TV advertising, company will benefit from this.
Are you equating digital to mobile?
The company creates short-form content for mobile devices and for different devices.
Basically, in the case with RTL Group, the advertising on mobile devices is similar to our other digital advertising because it's all short form. It's all about 30 seconds of ads before the clip. So the only difference would be the screen size between the mobile devices. And we are aware that the prices would be lower, but basically the amount of mobile devices used are not that high to pose that as a risk.
Okay, thank you. Actually, one of the things that I think you said in defending the impact from Netflix, you said it's going to impact other competitors even worse. Is that correct? Did I hear you correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
So what happens when other competitors are impacted adversely? What do you think the reaction is going to be when, based on how people react when they are in a corner?
So the possible reaction from the competitors would probably be to create some sort of partnership, some forms of partnership with Netflix, because that was even the first reaction of RTL Group. Even though we're not as affected as our competitors, we still decided to sell the rights to our TV shows to Netflix so that they can broadcast it in the Western European markets and other non-US markets. So that could be a possible response from the competitors, selling their content to Netflix, like selling the rights to the content.
What about giving up pricing? Sometimes competitors give up pricing when somebody is threatening their top line. Do you see that as a risk?
Well, we don't think, actually our competitors do not have that many video-on-demand platforms, and we don't think that their pricing policies would be competitive with Netflix. Because basically it's more expensive for them to distribute that content to the viewers, and it's more expensive to produce that content.
Thank you.
You talked about economic risk as being one of the key drivers in regards to advertising dollars. Can you comment in regards to kind of the European malaise that we read about here in the U.S., how that might affect the valuation and the outlook for the company?
Actually, taking into account the current state of European economy, after our local final, we revalued the price because of the significant drop in the interest rates, and that was primarily caused by implementation of quantitative easing program and QE, which is aimed to boost spending in the economy, will positively impact the consumer spending, and due to the 82% correlation admarket ad market growth and consumer spending in the Western Europe, we are strongly convinced that RTL Group will only benefit from such monetary policy of the European governments.
In addition, RTL Group is less exposed to economic risk than its main competitors, mainly because its widely diversified revenue structure in both geographic criteria. RTL Group generates about 35% revenue from Germany, about 26% of revenue from France, 17% from other European countries, and 10% in the USA. While its main competitors, they derive the most part of their revenues from one country, about 80%. So in this case, RTL Group has competitive advantage.
What technological risks do you see?
Well, we are actually quite well covered against the technological risk because you can see that digital continues to grow rapidly, and basically that's the only way technology could impact our company is when new technology shows up, then advertising is created specifically for that type of technology. And RTL Group is quite covered on that. They keep on with the trends, they keep up with them. And
moreover, RTL has developed and continues to establish its diversified mix of revenue streams, and which includes both digital and platform revenue. And due to the statement of RTL's management, that its digital revenue will double in the middle run.
Does Bertelsmann have a record of treating minority shareholders well in other instances?
Yes, definitely. They have a proven record of doing the decisions, the strategic decisions which are beneficial for minority shareholders.